All right, welcome into this edition of the Milwaukee Bucks podcast. Corey Moen, Evan Bernd. Evan, how we doing?
Weirdly better than I thought I was going to be.
Well, we've had a couple days to calm down. So to be fair, to be quite succinct, we've had a couple days to go through
to mourn.
Like we've had a couple days, but you know what? Honestly, at this point in time, can I really be mad about the Bucks season once again being over after high expectations? Maybe lukewarm expectations. I really can't. At this point in time, I really kind of know what to expect. It is what it is. I mean, honestly, you're a Wisconsin sports fan. You kind of built for this life at this point. You're built for the disappointment. It's kind of like finding the toy at the bottom of the box, right? Sometimes you get it, and sometimes your brother gets it, and for the most part, Milwaukee has done a lot of watching and hasn't done a whole lot of just they just haven't. They've always been the bell left at the ball, so it sucks, but I mean, it is what it is. Honestly, that's the only way. That's the only succinct way I can put it. It is what it is. So let's get started. Had a game at home. I believe it was Sunday night, if I'm not mistaken. Sunday night. Awful way. Lost 127-103. Obviously, the big story of that game is Damian Lillard went out with a left Achilles tear. Probably going to miss most of next season. But even and it was all in the first quarter. But again, that was not a good performance for Milwaukee. They just didn't. Just kind of watching that series from afar, right? Kind of taking like a 30,000 foot viewpoint. It just simply came down to Indiana was simply the better team. And it was evident from game 1. It was evident from game 5. Indiana was just simply the better team. They were younger. Their role players were better. And look, they're offensively, they just looked a lot better than we did. Okay, because they actually pass, and they play good fundamental basketball, and they have bigs that can shoot, and they have guys like, the biggest thing with Milwaukee right now is what they don't have is they don't have any glue guys, right? What do I mean by glue guys? Well, if you look on the Pacers roster, right, they got guys like Nesmith, like Nembhard, like TJ McConnell. And you look at the Bucks roster, Evan, and it's just like they don't have any of that. Like, who's our glue guy? Who's a guy who can, get us that crucial defensive stop? Who is that guy who could, coming off the bench, who can maybe throw in some points? They don't have that. Okay. Taurean Prince this year was the number 1 3-point percentage shooter in the league. No showed in the postseason.
Yeah. I think he made 2 3-pointers that whole series.
Kyle Kuzma, supposed to be our third scorer, along with Lillard and Giannis. No showed in the postseason. Brook Lopez, starting center, played a lot of minutes, averaged 22 minutes a game. No showed in the postseason. So when you add in all those factors, they had no puncher's chance in hell to win that series. So I guess kind of trying to get back on track here. What did you see in Milwaukee's performance Sunday night against the Indiana Pacers?
Again, very similar to games 1 and 2. Obviously, when they lost, and these losses were, again, they're not close. Obviously, this next game we'll get to that eventually, but it was one of those things where Giannis does all the scoring, and then there's one other person who also contributes a lot of scoring, and then no one else does a thing. So obviously you have Giannis with 28, 15 rebounds. Kevin Porter Jr. had a good game, 23, 5 and 6. But then Bobby with 14, and then really no one else. You got some 9s, you got some 6s, but again, a lot of just carried scoring, and they didn't score a lot. They only scored 103 points, so it wasn't even like a large margin of points being scored by Giannis and Kevin Porter Jr. I don't know. I just felt, once again, you coming off a win, and you're like, all right, let's hope this momentum's here. Let's get another win at home. And they completely shit the bed. It was close in the first quarter, kind of close at the half, and then you slowly start to get into the second half where, their Bucks are scoring a lot, but they were giving up a lot more. And then that fourth quarter came and just slowly just started to decline. They were down in the half in the third quarter, and then it just that lead that the Pacers were building just slowly started to creep up, and there's just no way of coming back. I don't know, just a lot of sloppy basketball, I felt like. 7 turnovers, not as many as the Pacers had, but still a lot of crucial ones. I think the biggest thing is, this was throughout the whole series, but I felt like we were under Budenholzer again with the amount of wide open shots that they had every single possession. The 3-pointers, shot 18 of 39, so 46%. 3 more made than the Bucks, but I just feel like a lot of it can just be maybe a little contested. I felt like the way that they would swing the ball from the corner to the wing to the top of the key, every single possession, there was always one of those 3 guys open. And I mean wide open. And then again, like Brook Lopez, like, oh, Miles Turner, just kind of the look at him and then slowly, raise that arm up and contest him. But Miles Turner is a 3-point shooter. He's killed us many times throughout the years. And I get frustrated with the lack of defense when it comes to the 3-point line. And even if they miss it too, it still is a wide open shot where they have an easy chance of building a lead. You do that 3 possessions in a row, that could be 6 points right there, depending if you make 2 of the 3 or make all 3 and get 9. And it's an easy 9-0 run in less than a minute. I don't know. I get frustrated with that. And just the lack of 3-point defense, and also just they had 36 assists to the Bucks 25, and I feel like a lot of it is just a lot of fast break points, 2-on-1s, people getting past Brook Lopez so easily, under more like on the baseline. I feel like there's a lot of easy ways for guys to just get right up to the hoop. I know that happened a lot in that game 5. Just again, that was the deciding factor. One of those possessions could have been the whole game right there, and I don't know. Just sloppy play from the start, and I just did not feel confident going to the second half.
And I mean, look, is it fair to say that Milwaukee is probably deflated after Lillard's injury, like a little shell shock? Absolutely. It absolutely is fair to say that. However, if I'm Doc Rivers, I don't come out and say that. You could probably think that in the moment, but again, the thing that I don't like about Doc Rivers, and the thing that pissed me off so much about him, is it always feels like he's planning his next excuse. And that was one of them. I don't want people saying that. I don't want people being like, well, we had one of our star players being okay, but it's up to you to coach with what we have. Okay. Because honestly, if you're relying on just 2 guys to win you a championship, you're not going to win a championship. I'm sorry. That's not the way championships work. There have been plenty of teams throughout history who have had star players, but star players don't win championships. I've been saying it for the past 5 years. Star players don't win championships. It's role players. Who's going to make the timely shot? Who's going to make the timely stop? Because you expect star players to play up to their billing, right? Okay, but see, the thing is, what people are going to remember most is the Bucks Game 6 clinching game against the Phoenix Suns back in 2021. What people are going to remember is Giannis' 50 points. Last time I checked, PJ Tucker contributed. Chris Middleton contributed. Brook Lopez made some timely plays. Everybody contributes to win a championship. And honestly, if Doc Rivers is just using Damian Lillard got hurt, so we weren't going to win, then that's a lame-ass excuse, and you should be fired just for saying that. It's about the other play. It's about the other guys. It's about making timely shots. It's about role players. That's what it's about. It is not about just simply, oh well, one guy got hurt. One of our best guys got hurt, so we couldn't win. I don't know. I mean, I guess the only person who really made it work was LeBron, but LeBron's like, one of the greatest players ever. So it's just like I just don't like people using that excuse. They were probably shell shocked, sure. They probably didn't, but again, this is like John Horst. This is who he's paid to be, right? Like he's paid to, he's paid to, build this team around the margins, like a Torian Prince, like a Kevin Porter Jr., like a Lopez, like a Gary Trent. So, let's just say it for what it was. Did Lillard's injury have an impact? Absolutely, it did. Do I think they won the series if Lillard were healthy? Probably not. I mean, they were just younger and faster than we were. So, and I mean, it's just Milwaukee did look shell shocked after the injury. They didn't play particularly well for the first three quarters. I didn't watch the fourth because I knew they were going to get like killed, and they did.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
But I'm sorry. The last time I checked, so what impact did Damian Lillard have? I'm sorry. So last time I checked, there's 5 guys out on the court. Everybody should be expected to play defense, right? Right. Everybody.
Yeah.
I would think if you're a professional athlete, you can play a little defense. So okay. So here's the other thing too. Here's the other component to it too. So even if Lillard stays healthy, is he helping that much at the defensive end, Evan? I mean,
not really.
Look, I don't want to take anything away from him because he did have that block against Siakam in Game 3, so I'm not taking anything away from him. But last time I checked, he's not a defensive stopper. I don't know about you, but I don't remember Damian Lillard making a crucial defensive play. He doesn't have the Drew Holiday steal on Marcus Smart in Game 5 in 2022. He doesn't have that. He doesn't have that to his resume. He has the OKC shot back in 2019 to his resume, but he doesn't have. So, people can. But again, like Milwaukee was not playing that well defensively. So, what do you want me? What do you want me to say? What do you want me to say? Who was like, outside of Giannis, it was like as a unit, Milwaukee just didn't guard particularly well, especially Lopez against Miles Turner, which.
It's a matchup deeming to lose. Like when he guards Karl Anthony Towns. He's going to get cooked every single possession.
Yeah, which actually now they're on the topic. Let's get into Game 5. Okay. Because, Doc Rivers, it's like to save his ass, essentially, was like, what I'm going to do? I'm going to make a change. He switched the entire lineup around. So I believe he started with 2 shooters. I believe it was Gary Trent. It was AJ Green.
Mm-hmm.
And then he went with Bobby Portis at center. Which honestly, if you look at it in the first half, Milwaukee was scorching hot. They took
a
20-point lead at one point.
And then it was gone in the second quarter.
I believe that was it the second quarter or second half? I thought it was the second half that went away.
They had caught up. It was a 30-13 first quarter and then 20-17. So like they were probably up like 5 or 6, and then that second half it's gone.
It just evaporated. And again, the frustrating part about that was the first quarter. There was like, oh my god, this team's gonna like blow them out of the water. But with the typical Bucks offense, they stall. Indiana comes back. They play a little less defense. We started making shots. And now all of a sudden the game is closer than it should be. Honestly, it shouldn't even surprise me anymore because this is who Doc Rivers has been throughout his entire career. Doesn't make any adjustments. Just basically, he's just basically Mike Budenholzer. And, just stands there, hunched over. I mean, but again, this is who Doc Rivers is. So, like, why? Like, even before he was hired, even when they're talking about hiring him, I think every Bucks fan were like, don't hire him, don't hire him, don't hire him, don't hire him, don't hire him. And they still hire him. Like, honestly, this is where it kind of gets to be like, do the fans actually know more than the basketball evaluators? Because in all honesty, like, whoever the idiot was who decided that Doc Rivers should have been hired in the first place, honestly should be fired, and he just should be sent to Guantanamo Bay, if I'm being completely honest here. Because you saw how much of a failure his 76ers tenure was, and then you were just hoping to recapture that magic, and you weren't able to. Okay? The guy, whoever the basketball evaluators are in Milwaukee, like, fire them all. Fire them all. Fire them all into the sun. Fire them into the moon. Fire them into Guantanamo Bay, because that was bullshit. Everybody could see that what Doc Rivers was going to do to this team. Everybody could see it. Except these brain-dead morons who are running our organization. I don't know if it was John Horst. I don't know if it was our idiotic owners, but it was somebody who thought that Doc Rivers was going to turn this team around. Oh, well, we need more of a leader. Oh, Doc and, Giannis and Lillard didn't like Adrian Griffin, so we're going to fire him. And, we need to be. And, of course, Giannis is going to say, I like to be coached by Doc. What the hell else is he going to say? Yeah, I like the fact that I like the fact that we run more pick and rolls than we used to. What the hell else do you expect Giannis to say? Of course he's going to say, yeah, I like to play in front of coach. If it was the same situation for Budenholzer, he probably would have said the same thing. Mm-hmm. So it's and again, getting back to Game 5 for a second, it's what makes me mad is I've seen this so many times as a Bucks fan where they get out to a big lead, they're doing everything that they're supposed to do offensively, and then they just
stop.
And then I don't know what changes. I don't know if they relax a little bit too much. They relax a little bit more on defense. They started to play a little more off. Indiana started to take advantage. And now they were in that oh shit mode, and then they start to panic. And you saw what happened. Indiana catches up. Timely. And again, the frustrating part about the Game 5 game was that they did everything they were supposed to do to win. Giannis had a great game. AJ Green had a great game. Portis, Gary Trent, they all made shots. They did everything they could possibly do to win, and they somehow lose. Hard for me to explain. So, what did you see in Milwaukee's performance in Game 5's overtime loss versus Indiana?
Just heartbreak. Again, you start off 13-0 with this new lineup. I'm like, okay, they're playing fast pace. They're getting all up in their face. Giannis had, I was kind of annoyed. Giannis had 2 pretty quick fouls, so he couldn't play for a little bit, which kind of annoyed me. But there were some pretty aggressive defensive fouls, just to kind of show his point. All right, we're playing fast today, and he picked up a couple early, but. Gary Trent, after Game 3, we're like, Gary Trent's not going to do that again in Game 4, but he showed up in Game 5, 8 of 17 from 3. AJ Green finally had a good shooting game, 6 of 10. More efficient, I should say. He's a good, but efficient more. And, you look at the bench, Taurean Prince, 4 minutes. Kyle Kuzma, 13 minutes. Brook Lopez, 8 minutes, and Jericho at 11 minutes. Kind of wish Jericho would have played a little more, but everyone that started played 44 minutes and up. Practically the whole game was at 35. And I don't know how they lost. I can tell you how they lost. Gary Trent won us and lost us the game in overtime. He puts us up 8. They were up 7 with 30 seconds left, and 2 turnovers just led to baskets. Couldn't even get to the foul line. I think what frustrates me the most is, again, you lose by 2 points and you miss 9 free throws. You could have easily won this in overtime. You don't blow a 20-point lead so early. I guess it's one of the worst things about having a 20-point lead in the first quarter is it's gonna be erased no matter what. But they couldn't even hold a 10+ point lead. It was just 5 points, 6 points. Oh, it's tied. Oh, now we're losing. Usually you can blow a 20-point lead, but sometimes you still hover with that 8 to 12 point range. But no, I think what was just so crucial was just the lack of closing out. Obviously, you have Damian Lillard hurt, who's our closer, but God forbid someone could just hold on to the ball. And it wasn't like they were just chucking up shots and just giving them extra possessions. They literally were just dropping the ball. Oh, I sat on my couch and I looked at my girlfriend like, oh my God, they just lost. And I don't know how it happened so fast. It was 30. I'm like, my friend texting me, he's like, holy shit, like Gary Trent just I'm texting my brother, texting my dad, texting one of my friends from work, and all of a sudden Gary Trent just lost his, God, I don't want to blame it on Gary Trent, but he was the one who turned the ball over 2 times. But we would not have been in that situation had he not hit those threes. But you look, they shot almost 50% from 3-pointers. They shot 45 from the lot, or 45 from the field. Everyone who started and played the 97% of the game, 6 of 11, 4 of 10, 12 of 25. Like they all shot efficiently. Bobby, a little bit, but he made up for the rebounds, for his rebounds. But they lost. I still can't fathom, seeing TJ McConnell play 17 minutes and shot 7 of 11 still. You hold Miles Turner to 5 of 11. He only took 11 shots, still had 21 points, but he wasn't the one shooting the most. Nemhard 5 of 14. It's like they still, had that 15 to 20 point range, but we have the guys to do it too. And I don't know. I'm just still in shock, and I guess I'm not in shock. I'm just confused. I think what really irritates me is like all the missed free throws. I hate losing by, again, I would rather have been blown out than lose by 3 points when you miss 7 to 10 free throws, just because, again, you make 2 of those, you win the game. But no, it's just unfortunate. And I think what really irritates me the most is just how many Bucks fans are going to put in quotation marks who are like, yeah, we should just trade Giannis at this point. It's like, what are you saying? Like, do you hear yourself like genuinely wanting to trade a franchise player like that? He deserves better. Yeah. And we're giving him the pieces. The pieces just aren't working out. If Giannis were still playing with some of the guys 3 years ago who just sucked, who don't deserve a roster spot, yes, get rid of them. He deserves to leave. But we got him Damian Lillard. You give him Kevin Porter Jr., Gary Trent Jr., all these 3-point guys, and it just didn't work out. Guys are getting hurt. Giannis got hurt. So it's like, why are you just so focused? Yeah, let's just trade him. No! Dude, you're not a fan of the Bucks if you want to just get rid of Giannis. Getting a player like Giannis is not going to happen in God knows how long. I really can't say we've had a franchise player since Kareem. You could throw in a couple guys who had some good spurts, but not an entire. I mean, even Kareem didn't even play less than half of his career in Milwaukee, but he won the championship. He got the MVP. That didn't happen until we got Giannis 40 some years later. I don't know. It bugs me that people are just so ready to just want to trade him. They're not going to trade him. They're not. And you see some of these trade proposals, they're just stupid. Why would you trade him to the Rock? The Rockets got the 2nd seed, and you just want to blow it all up for Giannis? Again, it's Giannis, but you'd trade Jalen Green, Sengun, all the guys who got you to the 2nd seed? No, that's stupid. The Spurs trading us, was it Stephen Castle, the guy who just won Rookie of the Year? Stephen Castle, I don't know how to pronounce his name. Why would they trade him? That's stupid. And it's just I don't even think a team can realistically afford Giannis with the amount of picks it would take or players. It's oh yeah, he's going to be a net. What are the Nets going to do with Giannis? You trade all of the pieces that you need. He's not going to take you to the finals. Giannis on the Nets roster, and plus giving us maybe two players and 6 first-round or 4 first-round picks. No. The Raptors, no. He's not going to just turn that team into a finals team. If it's going to happen on this roster right here, it's not going to happen in Brooklyn. They couldn't do it with Kevin Durant, James Harden, Kyrie. It's not going to happen. I don't know. It frustrates me to just see all these people just not turn on Giannis, be like, yeah, like I don't care if he leaves, like he deserves to leave. It's no. We're not going to see this ever again. Stop just wanting to give up on the franchise guy who maybe has 8 years still left to play. It's not going to happen. Generally, is not going to happen. Maybe 6 years down the line where he doesn't want to resign. Cool. Thank you. But no, it's dumb that people are just so ready to just let's just trade him. Bugs me.
I mean, yeah, the only way I'd run and get rid of Giannis in a hypothetical sense is if he asks out.
Mm-hmm.
Because by that point,
that is the only way.
Because by that point, it's just like, well, I mean, he gave us like what, 12 good years.
Mm-hmm.
Like if only asks out, I wouldn't trade him outright. If they do,
No.
however, if they do, hypothetically speaking, if you could get, and again, people have talked about, and I just and there was a notification that came through that said, watch out for the Spurs. I've heard the Nets are like early odds on favorite to get him if he was available. I heard the Pelicans. Look, if I don't know if I want anybody from the I wouldn't know if I want anybody from the Pelicans. Like I wouldn't want Zion for Giannis.
No.
Like Zion gets way too injured. Although the food scene in Milwaukee isn't as vast as it is in New Orleans, so maybe he could slim down a little bit. Like the Spurs, I mean, the only way I would do that is if we can get Wemby. That is the only way. Like if I'm the Spurs and I call about Giannis, I'm like, all right, they give us Castle and give us Wemby. Like I think that would be fair for both teams. We're basically swapping out one generational talent for another. And this one's like a unicorn. So like, I'm not saying I'm considering it, but I am. But you do have to consider the fact that if we can get another superstar from another country, like Wemby to the Bucks, has such a nice ring to it because the other thing too, he's pretty cheap for the most part. He doesn't cost much on your salary cap, and as you kind of look ahead, Evan, Milwaukee doesn't. I heard Shams talk about this on the McAfee show yesterday, where he was like, Milwaukee essentially doesn't have a lot of money to improve this roster.
Mm-hmm.
So you're really gonna have to start giving up on some core pieces here. Okay, like number one, like the fact that Brook Lopez only played 8 minutes in Game 5 really told me all I needed to know. They're probably gonna move on from him.
Yep.
Like the playoff are usually a good indicator of where a player stands. And Brook Lopez only playing 8 minutes in like an elimination game, that told me all I needed to know.
He should just retire.
Yeah, he was basically just in there just to give Bobby Portis a blow. Kyle Kuzma, supposed to be our third best scorer, only played 12 minutes. Told me all I needed to know. So, they're going to have to start giving up on some pieces. And they're really going to have to start getting younger, to be honest with you.
Mm-hmm.
I forgot what their draft situation looks like. I don't know if it's in the greatest spot right now. They've had to give up a lot of assets to compete for these championships. And usually people don't consider draft picks to be great. I don't know. Honestly, I don't know how this team's going to improve its roster. I really don't. Like they're like if I were them, here's what I would do. I would keep Kevin Porter Jr.
Mm-hmm.
Keep AJ Green. I would keep Gary Trent.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's where it ends, to be quite honest with you. And then you could fill out the rest of the bench with whatever. Because why would you keep Torian Prince? He didn't do anything for you in the playoffs. Lillard's. I mean, you're going to need a point guard, obviously, because. Unless you want to start the year next year with Kevin Porter Jr., do you still want him coming off the bench? You want him to be your starter? Where are we going with that? They're really going to have to fill out the roster for next year because I would not keep Kyle Kuzma. I would not keep Brook Lopez.
No.
But let's get back to Game 5 for a sec because, as we kind of talked about the unfortunate loss in overtime, it's really after the game is where a lot of these fireworks started. Actually, you know what? It's going to be better if I play the video. So if I just signed myself, did I just sign myself up? I hope I didn't. I don't usually log on to my X account, so I'll try to pull up video here. Let's see. All right, here we go. Yeah, share the screen. All right. Gonna play the video, Evan, of like where these fireworks really started.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So in case you missed it, after the game, Halburn hits a game winner, and Halburn's dad John got on the court, started talking some shit, and this is what transpired. Evan, what's your reaction to what you just saw?
It's so lame. Like I know like Halliburton hates the Bucks. He hates the state of Wisconsin. He hates the state he's from, or at least the city of Milwaukee, I should say. And like he obviously like came out and talked about like, yeah, like my dad was in the wrong. I don't know. As a child, and if I were to see my parent do that, I would be mortified. I think that was it was embarrassing. Giannis would have crushed that man. I don't know. And like his excuse was like, oh, I wasn't talking to him. I was looking through him or talking through him. It's like, no, you weren't. Just stop. You're making it worse. I don't know. It's just like one of those things where it's like, one, I get it, he's family, but being able to get on the court that quick after a game when the other team is still out there, kind of weird. I don't know. It kind of frustrated me just knowing like how so ready they are to just get in our face. Giannis kind of did a little. Giannis wasn't the best, I think, with that interaction with what was it, Nemhard, where he kind of like put his hand like right here and was talking to him.
Catherine.
That was kind of stupid of him to do. But for a parent, not even a player, not a staff member, no relation to the team outside of my son plays for your team, being on the court like that and getting in his face, I don't know. It was cringe. It was kind of embarrassing. He's banned now from going to the games. Kind of ruined it for himself. I don't know. As a child, I'd be pissed off if my dad stormed the court and started talking shit to the literal generational player, one of the best players to ever play. And I don't know. I'd be a little pissed.
Yeah, well, first of all, he was lying. That's the first thing about it. The reason why is because he was standing there for a solid 5 seconds, just like waving a towel in his face, like just like walking up to him.
Yep, and so you can see Giannis like looking in his direction the couple of seconds before like that video starts.
Exactly. Sit there and be like, "Oh, well, I wasn't. No. I wasn't talking. I wasn't trying to start. Yes, you were. You were on the court. You waved the towel in Giannis's face. You were just gone, and like congratulate your son. That'd be one thing. But no, you decided to talk some shit. Just be like, this is what we do, and Giannis said after the game, he's like, yeah, I felt as though he was being really disrespectful, and he was.
Mm-hmm.
But again, like according to most league executives and according to people around the league, this is how John Halliburton's been. This is how he's conducted himself. Is he's talked shit about his son, like just randomly, like nobody's even brought his son up, and he's just like, no, my son's like. But again, like you said, he's banned for the foreseeable future, and he should be. Like, there's no reason. Like, the problem I have. This is such some AAU shit where it's just like his dad acts like his son's that much better than everybody else. And again, his son's in the NBA. Give credit to him. Okay, his son's a really, really talented player. I don't think that poll is that far off because I do think he is a little overrated, but that's just me. And again, the reason why people have this take about Halliburton is because this is who he is. He'll, he loves to tell you about all his like the good shit that he does. But when he has a bad game, it's just like, like there are some days I don't know if he's like a so what I'm looking for. The reason why I do think he's overrated is just because of the fact that, there are most days where like he'll score like 25, but it'll be on like a fuck ton of shots.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and again, I'm happy that he's been able to develop under Rick Carlisle in Indiana. But do I think that this is who the Pacers are? They're a bunch of front runners. Okay, they're not going to do anything. They're not a threat. They have a solid team. Do I think they're a threat to make the NBA Finals? Absolutely not. No. I would give my left nut to say they're not a threat to like make it in the NBA Finals. They're not even a threat. They're not better than the Knicks. They're not better than the Celtics. So stop. Okay, they're a bunch of front runners. They're probably going to get out in the second round. Okay, like this is just who they are. They just love to talk a copious amount of shit when they're up, but like when they're down, they just have an issue with everything. Now, look, do I blame Giannis? And again, I will actually pull up that video just in case people can't see it. Just to paint a picture here, there was actually and again, people are like, well, this is of course for Milwaukee and Indiana, and it's true, it is. These two teams very much don't like each other. And I'm sure Milwaukee hates them more even now because they keep getting fucking eliminated by them. Let's see. I don't know if this video might actually be a little slow to pull it up. I don't know what's going to pull up. But yeah, the second skirmish to kind of paint a picture is that, Giannis like hugging, like the series is over, trying to be a good sport.
They got a little aggressive.
Yeah, it was. He did. Admittedly, he did grab the back of Benedict Mathurin's head. Should he have done it? No. And I think everybody's on Mathurin's side for there, where it's like, if somebody grabs the back of my head like that, I'm punching him in the face.
Mm-hmm.
Which is what people thought that, also Giannis, Benedict. No, hang on. Let's see if I can find it.
Yeah, I had to turn I was so mad that they lost. I turned it off, and then my dad's like, "Oh, now they're fighting." I'm like, "Great! Now I got to open this back up. We just lost, and now I got to see what's going on."
See if I can find it. Up here it is. Here's the video. Let me just go back to it for a sec. So we go ahead and share my screen again. There we go. Boom, boom. So this is what happened between Giannis and Benedict Mathurin.
You can just see his fingers just curl harder around his head.
Yeah, so let's go back to it for a sec. So he's like, hey man, good series. It's like, hey, whoa, what the fuck you doing? Yeah, that's basically what that was. It was basically like, because again, I think Giannis went in there with good intention. He was like, but Benedict was just like, whoa. First of all, not gonna disrespect me like that. That's the first thing you're not gonna do. And I think Giannis was kind of being disrespectful there. You can't just, honestly, you can't just grab someone's head like that, like without expecting some sort of repercussions. I Like, honestly, if I were to do that, like, yeah, I would expect something to happen. You can't do that. Very honest, you know better. Like, just wave. Like, if you want to give people like their flowers, go ahead. But like, you can't just grab the back of someone's head like that. I mean, I don't know. It's just an all around frustrating game. I just felt as though kind of towards the end, Indiana got way too many opportunities, especially if you go to Halliburton's game winner. Easiest path to the basket known to man. But I think Giannis was on him, and Giannis just, I don't know what happened, but like they just got way too many easy opportunities. I don't think Milwaukee kind of relaxed a little bit too much on defensively, and I think that's why they lost. People have blame Gary Trent, which I agree. Gary Trent is a little blame, especially on the second turnover, which is pretty egregious because he just simply dropped the ball. Like, it was a simple pass, and Gary Trent just dropped the ball and it fell out of bounds. Like, if he would have caught it and hit 2 free throws, like, that would have been one thing. But unfortunately, and like I said, I don't want to blame Gary Trent too much. He kept Milwaukee so much in the game. He made timely shot after timely shot. AJ Green, timely shot after timely shot. And I think Milwaukee just being able, Trent had 33 points in 48 minutes. Giannis, 30. AJ Green, 19. So they did everything they could to win. Again, you get 26 from Halliburton, 21 from Turner, 19 from Neesmith, 18 from McConnell. I mean, I think both teams had their role players play well, but I just felt as though Milwaukee, with the lead that they had, should have won that game. Just the simple fact of it. So, but moving on to the next topic. What do you see the future of the Giannis Damian Lillard pairing? Do they need to trade them both? Is one or the other going to be gone? Or what do you see with that future?
I mean, I saw rumors of the Bucks potentially trying to trade him this summer had he not gotten injured. I didn't read too much into it because, again, I don't really know like how true it is, but I don't think anyone's going to take Damian Lillard. Now that he'll probably be out until the next calendar year. I think they'll both will still be on the team for next season. I felt like Giannis and Lillard were starting to click a little more, and obviously injuries happened again, which is unfortunate. But no, I don't think anyone will want to take Damian Lillard again since he's hurt for, I feel like, January, February he'll be back. I don't know, usually it's like a year, but some can do it in 8 months. They'll have a whole summer off to really work with that, obviously, until probably like September-ish, October, before the season starts. So, no, I don't see him trading Lillard anymore, and I don't see him trading Giannis. Personal bias, but nothing has really came up or unsettled me where it's like, ooh, I think this is a time where they're going to start trading Giannis or looking to trade him. And John Horst has even said that. Giannis has said that you have to kick me out, you have to force me out. And I mean, the Mavericks reached out to the Bucks about trading Luka for Giannis, and they said no. So if you aren't willing to trade him for Luka, then I don't think there's really a point.
Yeah, and which is honestly crazy, the fact that that they did that, because do I think Milwaukee would have been in a better position with Luka Doncic? It would have been a lot more exciting. I don't think Luka would have made a better team.
No, it's crazy to think that somehow that the Bucks are in a situation where they could get Damian Lillard. They have people are reaching out for other generation. It's a weird thing to be 10 years ago.
Yep. But you know what? Honestly, I've been grappling with this question, and the more I think about it, like, based on where their salary cap situation is, based on where they are as a team, I could honestly see one of those guys not being there next year. And here's why I say that. You got to understand, where is Lillard going to be a year from now? Right? Because an Achilles injury for an older player is probably the hardest injury to come back from. Giannis is a generational talent. But you also got to consider he's a battering ram, and like he's what, over 30 now? Is he 30?
I think he's 30.
So
yeah, he's 30.
Playing in the league at that style, in which you take like a crap ton of contact, like you might maybe have 5 or 6 years left before, maybe injuries could start to pile up. I don't know. Giannis has been able to, or LeBron's been able to last till he's 40. LeBron still loves the game. Giannis loves the game, but he also is like very much like a family man. He likes to spend time with his family. You got to keep in mind, he almost thought about retiring after the 2020 pandemic or during it, just because of like, I just can't do this anymore. Like, this is not fun. So I've taken those factors into play. I think Giannis, like, he didn't want to discuss his future after the game, which was totally fair. But really, as the time starts to go on a little bit, it's like, well, how many years reasonably does he have left to chase a championship? Like, that's the question we really have to ask ourselves. Like, how many years does Giannis have left to still be like, I can still win with this team? Because, like, John Horst has made swings before, but we've had assets to do it. I don't know if he can make another swing now and be like, this is still the team that I want to spend the rest of my career with. It happens great. But you also just got to consider, like, where Milwaukee's at right now, right at this current juncture. And right now, they're not in a good spot to improve this team within the margins and help Giannis compete for championships. So, yeah, I could absolutely see one and or both those guys leaving. Or, being dealt.
Mm-hmm.
So, that's my thoughts on it. Moving on, now we're going to go to the head coach. Should the Bucks move on from Doc Rivers?
Realistically, yes, but I don't want to be paying 4 coaches. I think that's like the only thing where you're still paying Budenholzer, you're still paying Griffin. You'd be paying Doc, and now you're paying whoever this new coach is. I don't know how much longer they would be paying Griffin and Budenholzer for. But it's also, you're paying 4 coaches, and then it's also the end of, you fired so many coaches the last few seasons. That's also not a good look. Again, kind of, we mentioned it earlier, like starting to look like the Suns with how they've turned around. Also, both have fired Mike Budenholzer. But no, you want to say yes, but on how it's going to affect the long run, no.
I agree with you. And I think that'd be my only caveat too, was like, Doc Rivers is like, he hasn't been great, but also it's just like, do we have enough money to afford another coach if we do decide to go in that direction? Because in all honesty, like, like I said, Doc Rivers signed a 3 or 4 year contract.
He still has 2 left, I think.
Yeah. So I honestly, like, you're right. They would be paying Budenholzer, they would be paying Griffin, and they would be paying Doc. So I don't know I have no idea what they would do, but you're right. They would end up like the Suns if they do very much decide to go in the direction of like firing him. But, kind of along that same vein, if they do decide to fire him, if they do decide to move on, who would you like to see them go after?
I mean, you could say Mike Malone, but that one is now iffy because why would a team just fire their coach and their GM 5 games before the season ends? Like something happened. Now, I don't know if that's something that would essentially affect the Bucks. But I mean, Mike Malone is a championship winning coach. He's coached Jokic. Could he coach Giannis? Could that be a way to keep them in Milwaukee, essentially? Yeah, if they were to, like, why not look at him? Obviously, he's good enough to win a championship. Doc Rivers has won a championship, but that was so long ago. This is this is 2 years after the Bucks won. So as of recent too, but yeah, it's just going to be money. I'm kind of doing some research, but Bucks owe about $18 million to 3 head coaches, and that was last year. So still paying them 10 plus figures, I would assume, for the time being. But yeah, Mike Malone, I feel like is like the reasonable answer. I don't really know, like, not up to date with my coaches per se on who are the good ones, who aren't. Obviously, they usually go for like the assistant coaches to kind of make that step up, but yeah, we tried that with Griffin, and that didn't really work out. But I've seen Mike Malone's I think the front answer for most people.
I got a guy in mind. Taylor Jenkins, guy who recently got fired from the Memphis Grizzlies.
Ooh.
Oh
yeah, I forgot about him.
Reason why I say that is he had a successful tenure in Memphis. So there was a lot of people who didn't feel as though he should have been fired by the Grizzlies, even though they had a losing record against, Western Conference teams with the winning record. But, that's just a tough situation in and of itself. I mean, you got John Morant, who's exerting more power in the organization. JJJ. You got Desmond Bain. I mean, so they had a good young core, and they were the 4th seed, I believe. Like, that was a solid team for Memphis. So I think Milwaukee should go after Taylor Jenkins, and that will probably be the one that works out.
Yeah, I don't hate it. Kind of looking at some coaches. Obviously, Mike Malone's like everyone's front runner for free agents. Didn't really think about this one, but what about Sam Cassell?
He's been rumored to be a head coach for a long, long time, and I think he was Doc's lieutenant when he was in Philly, and I believe he was Doc's lieutenant when he was in the Clippers.
Yep, and now he's top for the Celtics right now. Bucks legend Sam Cassell.
Hey, Sam Cassell go back to Milwaukee? That'd be great. I don't know. For me, it's one of those things where it's like, why has he been passed over so many times? So I would wonder about that myself for sure. What was it? Let's see. Coach. So kind of as we move forward towards free agency and the draft, what do you think Milwaukee kind of can do or needs to do to improve this team?
They have to somehow get control of some first round picks. I know, like, they have what I thought the other day of, like, they don't have like control of their first rounds for like 4 seasons. I could be wrong on that. But I feel like if they're gonna like get rid of, again, I don't think you can get a first round pick on a Taurean Prince. But if you package him and then get one, I mean, you can send him to a non-contending team and maybe get one. But I think they're gonna have to dump Kuzma, Prince, Pat Connaughton, there's a few I feel like they're just gonna have to trade either to get rid of salary or try to trade these guys and get an early second round pick or late first round pick. Now, what they're gonna do with that first round pick, I have no idea because we don't really keep those guys. But yeah, I feel like there's going to be a lot of trades that happen this offseason. I don't know how it's going to be, but I think the team's going to look a lot different next year. I just don't know how they're going to do it just because a lot of these guys that they're willing to trade and get rid of, other teams aren't really going to want based off of how they saw them perform in the playoffs or just no one's going to want Pat Connaughton on a contending team. So you're going to have to try to dump him to some lower 12 to 15 seed teams. But they're going to have to somehow get a first round pick back and be smart about it because we aren't really good at that.
Yep. So right now what I could do is pull up the free agency list of what, who we could potentially go after. Now, granted, this is like, I don't have like anything ahead of me or like in front of me in terms of like how much their salaries would be, but let's just check it out. Let's see. Malcolm Brogdon hates Milwaukee. He's not going back there. I mean, maybe like it really depends if they want a backup point guard, right? Dennis Schroeder, I heard, is pretty good. Tyus Jones could be an option. He's pretty cheap. But then you go to shooting guards, right? And you're gonna get, Malik Beasley doesn't like Milwaukee either, so that's out. Sam Merrill, that could be intriguing. Maybe get him back to Milwaukee since he can prove he can shoot. Small forward, that's gross. Okay, moving on. Not a lot of power forwards either. Center.
Yeah, Brook Lopez is the highest.
They're really going to need a center, if I'm being honest here. So now I'm really going to be looking at guys who could switch, who could play good defense. So I'm looking at guys like like a Jackson Hayes or not Biombo, not Bryant, not Capella, not Gibson.
Think we can get Miles Turner? Could you imagine the snake of the century? Miles Turner joins the Bucks.
Miles Turner is an unrestricted free agent. So if they could get Miles Turner, well, he might cost a little bit too much.
Yeah. He's not coming near either.
No, he's going to cost.
He'd be the most hated man in Indiana. Oof.
Yeah, he. As much as I love Miles Turner, that would, But again, at the end of the day, let's see who else can switch. I'm out on the Marvin Bagley thing because that's just no.
No.
Now restricted free agent. Now hypothetically speaking, if they go for it, now for restricted, that's never mind. That's not good. Ryan Rollins, Jay Jackson. KPJ's got a player option. So yeah, I've kind of identified who I maybe would want if Milwaukee were to make that move, but yeah, they gotta do something to improve this team in free agency. So, Evan, you got anything else?
No, just kind of hoping for a good off season. Hope things change. Predictions for, I think, the rest of the playoffs. I think OKC is going to play the Celtics in the finals. And I'm going to root for OKC. I got a buddy who works down there, so I'm rooting for him. Hopefully they can pull a miracle off, and at least make it to the finals.
I think I'm going to go Cleveland and OKC. I just think Cleveland looks like the better team right now.
I like that too. Anyone but the Celtics.
Anybody but the Celtics. So, all right. Thank you so much for our listeners for tuning in to another edition of the Milwaukee Bucks on Tap podcast. This has obviously been our third year of doing this. We've had a lot of fun doing it. Unfortunately, since we've done the podcast, they've been knocked out in the first round.
Yep.
So maybe it's us. Again, thank you for our listeners for tuning in this season. And we'll kind of be back maybe heading towards free agency / the drafts. So I'll look out for that. And thank you guys again. And we'll see you guys when we see you.